Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Show and Tell, where the Translines team talks about things we're keeping an eye on here in Miami, around the country, and at this point, around the world. So the first thing I want to share with you is, if you don't know already, today's Monday. Tuesday, April 21st, we have a webinar from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock talking about all of the things that are happening in Miami and around the country in terms of mobility and the coronavirus. It's going to have us, transit centers, street plans, well, I'm one of them, so I don't want to take too much credit, but 2 really amazing people that are coming to talk with us about what's happening around the country. And if you haven't signed up already, it's transalliance.miami/webinar. Please sign up because there's limited space and we'd love to see you there. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Maria.
I'm going to talk about accessible testing in Broward. Something that we've been working on at Transit Alliance is trying to increase how people can access testing sites, especially if folks don't have a car. And in Broward, just recently, they opened up 2 new walk-through testing centers, specifically for people that don't have cars and would have, difficulties accessing it. So, this is a really important thing that we're encouraging Miami-Dade County to do as well, because we know that in many of our districts here, specifically District 3, District 2, and District 5, upwards of 20% of households don't have a vehicle. And we feel that, this is something that needs to be done very, very soon. And let me just stop sharing my screen. And if you or anybody that you know has had difficulties getting tested because you don't have a car, we'd love to hear from you, because we want to advocate on your behalf. And yeah, just reach out and we're happy to help.
This week, I wanted to talk about the free transit and how that's been going on here. And I know it's been going on around the country, but specifically, I wanted to bring to Miami kind of local, because as of March 21st, public transit has been free in Miami-Dade County as a part of the COVID-19 response to allow like the backdoor entrance and stuff like that on the buses. But I guess as you look at the drop in ridership that's accompanied the COVID-19 pandemic, Transit app has actually compiled some data that actually tells us that in Miami-Dade, the demand has seen a lower drop than in other places around the country, in other major metros. And that has me thinking, who in Miami is still taking public transit? And in my head, that's telling me it's either essential workers, people that work at grocery stores or in healthcare or other first responders that society's depending on right now, or it's people that have been depending on public transit this whole time because they do not have a vehicle, and they depend on society in order to be able to have access to frequent transit. Either way, that to me sounds like a public service that needs to be invested in, to the point where it shouldn't just be free to the end user in emergency times, but it should be free to everyone, because we're already subsidizing this heavily. You could still see, this is a photo here taken a couple weeks ago by a bus operator in Miami-Dade. The buses are still packed with people, and you could see hard hats there. You could see like construction workers there. You see people that are still packing on to these buses while they're free. I don't know, it just opens me up to the conversation that we're talking about. We've been talking about free transit since before this happened. Monestein, he brought up a discussion item about a month ago talking about this at the commission. And it seems to be a conversation that people are willing to be open to. And I guess now is the time to kind of point at why exactly that makes sense. Because I think it's very clear to us now who is depending on this, who's paying for it, because we're all paying for this through taxes, and why we're kind of charging people again as end users for this public service in the first place. But yeah, that's my show and tell.
So I think there's this misconception around public transit just being thought about in terms of a subsidy, because we don't often think about how roads are also subsidized, how roads, we collect so much taxes for something that generally people don't pay as the end user to use, right? We think about transit of, okay, fine, you put in a fare, it doesn't completely pay for the service that you received. Yeah, the car that you're driving on the highway, all of the taxes that you pay for it doesn't pay fully for all of the infrastructure. And actually, there was a great article on Streets Blog on how now, during times of coronavirus, where you have gas taxes drying up, where you have tolls drying up, it really becomes evident how heavily subsidized roads are, and how it's never a fair comparison to say transit is subsidized and roads pay for themselves, because that's absolutely not the case. And we'll put a link to that Streets Blog article in the show notes.
Well, I think to me, the only concern about making public transit free is that we can't use that as an excuse for poor service. So, and when I say we, I mean like as a county and even the cities, like where it becomes a mindset of, yes, this is not performing properly, but I can't complain about it because it's free. Because ultimately we are paying taxes. So that's like a little note that I wanted to make on that.
If I could add a last thing, I think it's interesting because as we looked at the conversation before C19, that was a part of the conversation. It's like, oh, we make it free. It's kind of going to be like a you get what you pay for kind of situation. That was before it was made clear who was depending on this service. Again, it's people that either society is currently depending on to continue functioning, or it's people that have been depending on society to have access to transportation. Offering that to them for free should also mean investing in it so they have a proper system to use in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, you're screwing over people that we need or people that need us. You know?
Yeah.
Not just people that want to take a bus for some reason, for funsies. You know what I mean?
So I'm going to LA. And in LA, the University of California put out a study where there have been 50% less traffic accidents and crash-related injuries and deaths since the stay-at-home shelter-in-place orders were put in place. And that means that California has saved by now around $40 million a day, which comes out to about $8 billion since the 20th of March. Basically, car ridership is down by almost 50%. So there's 55% less traffic in most major highways in California, 50% less collisions and related injuries, and between 40 and 50% less trauma injuries for drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists. And I just wanted to share this kind of like as a silver lining. You know, we're having this conversation about like subsidizing roads and all of these things, but also like look at all of these savings that come from not having cars on the road, and not only in the economic part of it, but also like injuries and deaths. Like these are lives that are being saved by not having cars on the road. So that's my Chantel, and I just wanted to end it with a picture of Oakland, California. Right now, by the first week of May, they're gonna have closed 10% of all of their streets for social distancing. So that just seemed like a good end to the show and tell, just like the silver lining of all of this.
Wait, and that was $1 billion saved like since like over the past like month or so since the stay-at-home.
Right, since the 20th. I think today's the 20th, so that is exactly 1 month. Since the 20th of March, they've saved $1 billion in traffic-related injuries and crashes.
Jeez,
so
that's crazy.
Okay, we're out of time. And before we leave, I just wanted to share that if you found this helpful, interesting, please become a patron. It's only $2 a month. transalliance.miami/join. We're a nonprofit organization. We are supported by people like you who believe that Miami should be more walkable, more bikeable, have better public transit. So please support us. That's transalliance.miami/join. Thanks a lot. See you next time.